I never imagined that a single choice could completely destroy the life I had built. My name is Melissa, I'm 36, and for 14 years I believed I had everything I wanted. A stable marriage, 2 wonderful kids, and a life that felt safe and predictable. My husband, Mark, was the kind of man who worked quietly behind the scenes. He wasn't flashy, but he was dependable, steady, and patient. He put up with my moods, my sarcasm, and my occasional bursts of chaos, always ensuring our home felt secure. I thought I loved him, or at least I thought I respected him enough to never cross certain lines. But as I'm sitting here now, staring at the empty apartment that used to echo with laughter, I know I was wrong. It started innocently enough, or at least that's how I convinced myself. I had been playing this online role-playing game for a few months, and within that group, there was someone who made me feel something I hadn't felt in years. He was 27, younger, and exciting in ways that I didn't even realize I was craving. It was attention I hadn't admitted I needed, a kind of validation that made me feel alive again. At first, it was harmless messaging, funny jokes, shared strategies, compliments on my skills, but soon, it evolved into something more dangerous. I laughed it off when he said he wanted to meet in person, thinking I could control the situation. I could never have imagined that this small spark would grow into a flame capable of consuming everything I held dear. One night, after a particularly stressful day, I agreed to meet him at a small cafe near my office. Mark was at work late, and our kids were at their after-school activities, so it seemed like a harmless escape. I told myself it was just one time, one small lapse. The moment I saw him, his confidence and energy hit me, and I felt that old excitement, that thrill I hadn't felt in years. We laughed, we joked, and before I realized it, the boundaries I had promised myself I would never cross disappeared. One thing led to another, and I crossed a line that I can never uncross. The next morning, I returned home pretending nothing had happened. Mark greeted me with his usual calm smile, completely unaware. Our kids, Emily and Noah, ran into the kitchen, and I hugged them, choking down a sense of guilt that was growing heavier with every breath. I tried to act normal, to continue as if nothing had shifted, but I could feel the weight of my betrayal pressing down on me. Every laugh, every casual comment I made seemed like a lie. And the truth, buried deep inside, was screaming at me to come clean. But fear and selfishness kept me silent. It didn't take long for cracks to appear. Mark noticed my distant behavior, the way I sometimes stared at my phone a little too long, the subtle excitement and shame that lingered in my expressions. He tried to ask what was wrong, gently at first, then more pointedly as days passed. I deflected, I lied, I insisted that I was just stressed, that work and life had been overwhelming. But I could see it in his eyes, the quiet suspicion, the growing unease. Mark wasn't confrontational by nature, but he was observant, patient, and his patience was beginning to wear thin. Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening I was careless. I left my laptop open with messages still visible. Mark walked past and in a second he knew. There was no denying it, no hiding. The look on his face froze me. It wasn't anger at first, it was disappointment, hurt deeper than anything I had ever seen directed at me. That silence was heavier than any shouting could have been. He didn't scream, he didn't yell. He just stood there, looking at me as though he had just discovered a stranger living in our home. "I trusted you," he said softly, but his voice carried the weight of every betrayal he had silently endured, every sacrifice he had made, every moment he had believed in us. "I trusted you and you chose someone else." I tried to speak, tried to apologize, tried to explain that it wasn't like I wanted to hurt him, that it was a mistake. But nothing could repair the fracture I had created. He didn't yell, he didn't cry. He simply left the room, leaving me to face my guilt alone. That night, I sat in the living room, staring at the toys scattered on the floor, listening to the quiet breathing of my children in their rooms, feeling the full magnitude of my selfishness. The next few days were unbearable. Mark became distant, polite but cold. He kept interactions minimal, kept our routines intact for the kids, but the warmth, the trust, the intimacy, all of it was gone. Every time I tried to reach him, he responded with short, clipped answers or avoided the conversation entirely. The kids, sensing the tension, became quieter too. Emily asked why Daddy seemed sad, why he didn't laugh like he used to. And every time, my heart broke a little more because I knew I had caused it. It all came to a head when Mark filed for custody. I had never imagined it would come to this. I thought our marriage could survive mistakes, that love could conquer everything. But this wasn't a simple mistake, it was a betrayal. And the court, looking at the evidence, the repeated deception, and the impact on our children, saw that too. They decided in Mark's favor. I lost custody of Emily and Noah. Sitting in my empty apartment, scrolling through photos of the life I had once cherished, I realized that the thrill of a fleeting connection had cost me everything permanent and irreplaceable. The excitement of that short-lived affair could never outweigh the laughter, the comfort, the stability, and the unconditional love I had destroyed. And the worst part? Knowing that I had chosen selfish desire over my family, and that there was no rewind button, no second chance to undo the pain I had inflicted.